too. That image and the GaloMine you got there.
Yeah, I hadn't gotten one framed yet. I got that one framed, but I had I rearranged the office, knowing you were coming, and knowing that I finished my full-time subbing job was where I just really wanted to. Now I'm settling in on trying to get everything done.
Cool.
On the what I call the book is biography.
Well, we're rolling.
But we can go through it. Let me bring these up, and we just scroll through them. I again am not sure of the time frame on this interior.
Can we check that last one out?
Sure.
So right now they don't have those benches.
They do not.
Yeah. So it has some it has some furniture in there, but they said when they took all the tackle off, all the furniture, the boat actually rose an inch. So it might be more economical to frame up some benches like that, put some cushions. But then again, those couches are really comfortable.
Yeah, he. Of course, the whole plan behind this was 6 passengers, and that's why it's not like the Country Girl, where he had in the back of his mind. It's like I said at the funeral. It was you got to get a bigger boat, and it started. I've got a picture of the very first one he ever bought, and he was smiling, and after a while we weren't smiling because there's so many things had to be done with it. But that GaloMine is a horror story. But anyway, I want to stay focused on this one right now.
Okay.
But and that's interesting. I had no idea that I guess different owners want different things on them, but he was building it strictly to provide him everything he didn't have with the old GaloMine.
Sure.
And it was everything, because he fished it for 3 years. That was it. He fished it 73, 4, and then was in this one in 1975. And he knew that. I jokingly tell people, when the slow and easy passes you and you're at full throttle, that's not too cool. That's not too cool. And he told me that's why. See, he spent all the summer of '72 in summer school. Woody laid down the law: you're not going to touch that boat until you finish your education, and that's going to be covered in the book too, about the problems he had, and it all. I still say it was not his fault, but that's not here. But that's what really hobbled him. And he was like a bullet. He would leave Wilson and he'd be at Nag's Head in no time. And he would go out with me on, because I told him, I said, I'm not going to run offshore parties without you. I said, I'll run inshore all day long. The main reason was I didn't know what I was doing. Fishing, running the boat, yeah. Engineering, yeah. But not fishing. Yeah, I mean, he'd been fishing ever since. I don't think he was out of diapers when he started fishing. Mm-hmm. And he took the Als Gal, and he was all over that ocean when he got that thing down there. And that's where he looked, learned, listened, asked, and it's an interesting story. That's the main storyline for that section, is how essentially it was 2 guys, he and I at the beginning. I had no monetary interest in it. I had sweat equity by the barrel, but it was something that he was so focused on doing. And when he found out, this is it, this is what I want to do professionally, and so that's when he came up with this. He got with Omi and built. There's one picture I have somewhere that said, "The most beautiful boat ever to sail out of Oregon Inlet." Now that was in '75, but it's gone a lot since then. But yeah, he had it laid out. I think he tried to incorporate everything he wished he had. I was interested in the fact that he had one of the new. I didn't know they made them. Because the first thing his engine was a 1271 GM. I think it was a TI. I'm not sure if it was turbocharged or not, but it's the biggest reasonable Detroit that you could put in there because he had that in the old GaloMine, and find out how simplistic they were. And so he put that. I remember him telling me. I said, "Well, how much was that engine?" $54,000. He told me that standing in front of my mom and dad's house over there, and I about fainted. I said, "You're kidding me." He said, "Oh no." All right. So he put that engine in there, and I said, "Wait a minute. If you got an engine this big," I asked him what was the gear reduction on it, and I think he said 2-to-1. Pretty sure it was 2-to-1. And I said, "Well, how are you going to slow this thing down enough to troll?" Because I said, if you're at idle speed, you're going to be really making some time. And they had developed a clutch. We call them clutches or transmissions, where it could drop to like a 3-to-1 with some shift lever that they had built in the hydraulics. And it had a cockpit steering station in it. And that's when I asked him, I said, "Well, I can see you doing Wahoo with no problem, but if you're going to ever have a inshore trip or something like that." So he put the cockpit. There was no steering station in the main salon, and I was interested in that, but I didn't, for some reason, have any pictures of it being framed up, and I've tried to clean these pictures up as much as I can. By the layout of the shop and making sure I had them straight. I had some of them in backwards, but I was all over the thing taking pictures.
Yeah, I'm just looking at some things that have changed over the years. We don't have the steering station in it now. We've got one cleat up on the bow. Originally it had two.
Yeah. Huh. That's a good side view of it. There's the old man himself hiding in there. Pretty sure it was a weekend because they weren't working. And I've got another picture of them all working. Well, they took a break for a picture. What is the technical term for this that you all call it? This little overlight.
I don't know.
Huh? I didn't know if there was one. There's a little bit of the interior below. Yeah, there's two bunks forward, and I think I just can't remember. I think the head was on the starboard side, but he had all these drawers and stuff in here for stowage. Because it's what he did. Well, it was tailored for him, and
it's a clean shop.
Yeah, they. I think did a fairly good job. I was only down there maybe, I want to say maybe 4 times at the most. That's probably it is the biggest regret, because once I settled down, when I got married, that was kind of the end of everything. And he kept right on sailing and teasing me incessantly about being married. Well, you can't do anything now. I said, and I also was working. He's the workingest human being I've ever been around. And I said, I've got an 8 to 5 or 8 to 4 job in teaching. And I said, I can't just walk out, and go hunting. And that's when he transitioned to hanging out with my brother. And then that's a whole different story. But I didn't have the time. I didn't allocate the time I should have to get to know him, the development of Pirates Cove. All of that was done. I knew it was going on, but I didn't take the time to go down and see what he was up to and try to take apart. And definitely there are your 2 cleats. Another shot of the interior. Yeah, he had benches on both sides. I guess tackle drawers.
Old wood furnace in there.
Yep. Yeah, that's one thing about working on a boat. You got plenty of I got bitten one day by a guy that he sailed with him a couple times. I worked for him, Dora Willie, up here in Elizabeth City. And Dora said, "Ain't no such thing as scraps in a boatyard. You ought to know that." But there are some scraps that you can't use for a stove. I've tried to. The most impressive thing about her, which was, and my mouth was open when they finally had the engine in her and had her at Pirates Cove tied up there. I went down to see him. Yeah, it was underwater, and he could stand up in the engine room, straight up. His head was between two frames or Carlins, up here, but it was a lot better. I mean, there was the engine. You could pull a cushion in there and work on the engine, and that was just so impressive to me that they could cram that huge engine in there and him be able to stand up. It's not necessarily in sequence. You can see what they were doing and how it got together. And again, these pictures, were 1974. Maybe this had slipped in. I don't know the actual construction phases. This, I would imagine, was probably January or so of 75, somewhere along in there. I don't know how much work they can get accomplished. You've got to worry about in those days, and I guess these days too, resin and stuff like that drying and keeping the shop warm and dry and everything else. But that's a picture of it before she was painted.
That's pretty.
Yeah.
That's a clear picture for the 70s, right?
Yeah. These were. Let me think for a minute. These were slides. These were 35 millimeter slides, and I can't remember. I think it was my sister-in-law. I think it was. I had her convert them to digitalize them, and then I took them and have tried to do what I can to edit and enhance color and clarity and stuff like that. And I've been very fortunate what I could recover, and then again getting hold of different pictures from different other sources, which is primarily Bill. Blair didn't have any. Bill had some, and there were a few that your mama had that I don't know. I don't know which sister it was, but somebody had sorted out all of her pictures up in her attic down there, and I've still got those tubs here that I go through from time to time trying to pull pictures, and she had sorted them into just Alan himself. There's a whole big box of it. It just says Alan on it. Then it had a little storage tub that had Alan pictures, photographs, and another one that had GaloMine and let's see, what was it? Sitting right down there. It might have had Country Girl on it. I can't remember, but it was very few of the Als Gal. There might have been 3 in there, and Bill had maybe 4, and I only had those up there. They were taken by a classmate of ours at COA. He was kind of a semi-professional photographer. He took pictures of our wedding and everything. And there's another one of Judy. I don't have it out here that he took on board. He took those at the beach. I think we were down there, one of the trips down there. But that was before they even started this. I think I took all of these on. I had a 35 millimeter camera slipped down there. there she is underway, and it's a wonder I managed to dull the teeth, because that's all he was when he was on that boat, was teeth. That's all, he was just a smile. And that's the way she left. She didn't leave the shed that way, but the towers had phased out in, I'm gonna say 72. Maybe one boat had a tower, and then all of a sudden they began to come back in the mid to late 70s, and he wanted that boat to be the boat. I want it right, stem to stern, and I don't know who he got to make that. It certainly wasn't high-speed welding.
No, Irvin Forbes has the story on that. He said that he bought it used.
The tower.
Yep.
Now, why am I not surprised?
Yeah. So they said it, that they
cool.
pieced it together in a way of stainless steel, I believe. Pipe welders was the original fabricator.
Yeah. Well, that's cool that you've got that background. I don't know how long it stayed on. I went out with him
I
one
think they
time.
took it off in the 90s.
Okay.
Yep, 93.
I don't even know when he sold it. I don't know when he sold. I don't know if Vanessa has any records, or if he kept any records when he sold this one. I mean, I know where that one has wound up. It was demolished last year.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, and it just that's an interesting story. But she had a wonderful life. That boat lived just about as long as he did, and that was what was so. It was so ironic. The guy had dismantled her, is a term I used, and he was very partial to the boat. They've been using it as a shrimp boat, and he said we tried to move it and just pulled the whole stem right out of it. And he said that's it, and still had a 671 in it, but it wasn't that one. That's a whole chapter in itself, that engine and what we had to do to it. But it was in March, at the same time we found out that he had cancer, but not the same year. It was last year that I went down there and took pictures of it, and it just said, well, that's really something. But I was a lot closer to that boat naturally than this one. But he went out with him one time, and I just was shaking my head the whole time. It was so fast. It was so smooth. It was a day about like that. And it just, I even climbed, I wasn't as fat as I am now, but I climbed up in the tower. He usually stayed, as a rule, on the fly bridge, but I climbed up in the tower, and it just, the sensation was, it was almost like you were looking down at a chute and nothing but wind. Very little vibration, but it just, the whole thing was just absolutely spectacular. And I have another picture, I think. Well, we got a couple more of her. That's when she was first launched. I think that might be Omi. I'm not sure if he had a red hat on that day or not. But it was long. I don't even know if they still call it Phillips Marina or not. It's down in Juan Cheese. And there's several pictures of her that either I took, and I can't remember. Somebody had to use the camera. I don't know if Judy went down there with me or not. But there she is in Elizabeth City. I do not remember him bringing it up to Elizabeth City. But, you know, I try to date things in the background. That's the Pelican Marina there. That's Sitgo. This is I changed the name of the restaurant. The bridge is right over in this area right here. And I don't know who all's on the boat, but it was up here. And then there's another picture. Well, I've got them scattered. That's me on the bow with the bow line, and there's riggers. He stuck them in the cabin, and got it overboard. Going the wrong way.
Is that him up in the tower?
Yeah, I can tell. I can recognize him a mile away. I mean, every move he had. I mean, when the last time I saw him, I could just look at his eyes. I knew exactly what he was saying. I'm tearing up a little bit. What he was thinking. but you just get, so close to him and everything. Even at that point, it was like somebody's reaching in, and like it was to you when you lost him.
Mm-hmm.
But it was just rough. But that's what transitioned him into Big Al, which I did not ever call him that because he was teased a little bit, not a whole lot, but he was teased in high school because he was so small compared to everybody else. And matter of fact, there's a thing in the class prophecy about little dimps and big jet, and I still have a hard time referring to him as Big Al, but that was Big Al. And you're not going to laugh at me anymore. Slow and easy. Don't even take your lines off. And I think it was about 27 and a half knots loaded, is what he said. But that's head night of the fishing center. You can't, and I've got another picture, but I can't find it. I had it in here. Anyway, that's where that picture was taken. So they've got her painted now. That's probably the other time. Now this is real exciting, carrying her down the road. I don't know if you've ever done this or not, or seen it done, but you.
Oh yeah, lift the power lines up.
Yeah, this. I know that I was doing that. That's him up on the bridge because I told him, I said, you get up on the bridge. Why the hell do I got up there? I said, because I'm a foot taller than you are. You get on the damn bridge. So and I can't remember exactly where it was, but anyhow, I was passing wires as it came up, and I don't know if I had grabbed two or one or something, anyhow, and it wasn't this picture, but my wires hit an old one, and it was a shower of sparks, and what was it? He said, something, y'all trying to fry me or something. So you look like, he was saying something that they made a comment about, you look white as the boat. And it was because it was rather exciting. It only happened one time, but we managed to pass them over without any problem.
Well, before you switch,
okay.
I don't know if you know it, but they cut most of that keel off.
Huh.
Yep.
They've come right along in here, maybe?
Yeah, it's pretty much a half keel at this point.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's interesting. I wonder how that would. It's been so long since I've been involved in it.
They said it's able to ride more level now. The keel kept it on a lean, depending on the current or which way they were going.
I can see that. It's an awful lot of
and they
surface.
said it's a lot easier to steer now.
Oh God. Yeah.
They have a power assist on the steering now, which made a big difference too.
Yeah,
which it has a switch, so you can see what it's like without.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I'll take all the power I can get.
Yeah.
No. Ours and that one was cable.
Man, that must have been tough from the tower.
It wasn't too bad. We had a bicycle chain that went down through to the sprocket. That's a whole other engineering story of me not knowing what I was doing. When I put that together, you're going to be crying, laughing so hard. I just done the thing I wish I had a video of it. I'd have to take all the profanity out because I'd get everything fixed, put it in there, and it doesn't work, dead. And I thought, God. But anyway, well, that's interesting that they would make that. We had trouble with that boat, and we had to cut away the keel. That was a solid keel all the way back, and that really put him back a little bit because in those days he was trying not even until June.
Is ham with lunch tomato mayonnaise okay?
Everything but tomato is good with me.
No tomatoes. Okay, I got a couple of weak people in my family who don't like tomatoes. Look at that. Is that the one you have?
Yes.
Nice.
And I'm sure this is long gone. This was a plate that I had engraved. I can't remember exactly what it said on it. It was a brass plate. Charter boat GaloMine. Captain Allen C. Foreman launched, and it was March, I can't remember the day, of 75. And I told him I wanted it, and he did. He put it on one of the beams below, but I'm sure
Okay.
it's either painted or painted over or whatever. And that's Jenny Jackson.
Oh, okay. Wow.
And but I had that, surprised him with that. He didn't think I was going to do that at all, but I've been planning on that. So what date now? Well, it was so and so. I said, don't give me this so and so, because I was getting rich selling life insurance at the time. And I said, I got to know exactly when so I can work my schedule. Oh, okay, all right. And he called me and told me, so it's all to get that plate done. And there's a picture. I brought a bottle of champagne and wrapped tape on it. So we got Jenny to christen it. And it took her about 5. Oh, that's another thing. I think I put it in here. And that's on me. And Woo Woo, as everybody called him. Good shot of the keel, you know, where you could look and see. This is a neat rig that Phillips had developed or designed. He designed it, I think, himself. And it was fantastic the way it worked. And that's Blair.
I believe that photo was hanging in the cottage.
Probably is.
Yep.
There are a lot of Maycock Bryan took those. That's why
I think
they're so
my
well.
mom has the original. I'm trying to get it from her.
Yeah, there's a copy here, and there are pictures. Yeah, over there. Now, this was an enlargement from a picture this big. That's in one of these little packets right here. But it shows Jenny getting ready to whack that, and it's a lot prettier in color. Now, that's the one I was telling you about earlier with Lee Perry. I'm not sure who that is. I think that might be Tony Tillett. I never met him. But, of course, that's on me. But this is before they naturally painted the hull or anything, and caught them when they were working. And they had a shaft in and everything. They didn't have them. Can't tell if they had the actual, if they had the propeller on it or not. There's this is article. This picture's in the Daily Advance up here, April 6, 75, and is when the newspaper was up there.
So I see 51. I've seen it as 53. I've seen it at 46. There's no telling how long that boat is.
Well,
I think it's 46 at the waterline.
5654 041 is their official number.
What is it?
565041.
What's that mean?
That's the official number, her official number. It's carved on the main head.
Like the registration?
Yep, the
Okay.
documentation.
Okay.
Let's see. Come on, you can do better than that. Take me forever. Let's see. You can see what I've been researching. Let's see. Okay, where's
That third one might be the best one.
Yeah. Good, no, they mess you up all the time. Let's see. I can't find it. Well, why didn't it reset the way I wanted to? Let's do it this way. Uh-huh.
There you go.
All right, now it'll work. I think it's 51 feet. Of course, that's at the water line.
All right.
Well, no, wait a minute. You're right, 47 feet.
All right, so now we got 47 in the mix.
at the water line. Okay. Is that who owns it now?
Yeah,
Or
J&J
did?
Marine, vessel name Fighting Lady, which the new registration is
Yeah.
Als Gal Sport Fishing. Als Gal is the vessel name.
I would guess, and see, they go by waterline length,
Yeah, see, that's what Joe had explained to me.
and they don't go
Because
by
I
length
asked him,
overall.
I said, what is the actual measurement? And he said, I don't know, I call it a 50-foot boat.
Yeah.
Well, he called it a 50-foot boat, but I think he was speaking general, and that's when I asked him, I said, what is the actual length? You said 50, I thought it was 53, I've seen
Yeah.
46 on documentation. And he explained that, you know, back in the 70s, they measured boats at the water line. That was the official. So.
Usually they have LWL, waterline, length waterline, or loaded waterline, or whatever. But you could easily say it's 51 because that's 4.5 feet across there. And I know the rake of that bow, if you drop the plumb off of it, you're going to have 51 feet length overall. But
I think I'll do that before we put it back in the water.
if you've got her level, that way you can put it all. I mean, if you're all 5 or 6 inches, nobody's gonna yell at you. You're still wonderful. This is the old one.
Crustacean?
That's the name of her. Was when it was torn up. And it was owned. It's in this guy's name, but his father had it. It's in one at Englehart. I went down and took pictures of what I didn't take pictures of what was left. I didn't know it was still on site, but he told me that it was.
That's the original GaloMine?
Yeah.
How did he come up with the name?
That's he always wanted. I've just finished writing all this in longhand, and you're gonna know all the secrets before I get it finished. Not really a secret, but when he bought the boat, it was named Miss Seeney. It was named after the wife of a guy in Liv City. Clarence Boyce was his name. And the neatest thing about the old GaloMine, it was built for John Wood Foreman, our cousin. John Wood had it built, big old John Wood had it built right after the war. And I don't want to change the name. And I said, well, yeah, certainly you always change it. But it wasn't documented. It was just a regular North Carolina register. You can call it anything you want. I want to call it Getting Tired. I said, what? Getting Tired. I like Getting Tired. I said, what? Where in the hell is Getting Tired coming from? I don't know. I just think it's a good name for a boat. Getting tired. You've been fishing and running. You're getting tired. I said, you can't name a boat Getting Tired. I said, even a competitive boat in competition, a race boat or something like that. And I said, it needs to be nautical or a girl's name. I said, you ain't got a girlfriend. And at that time, I don't think I did either. Well, we were both lucky. He never did in high school, a steady girl. I didn't have one either. I loved her, thought the world of her. She couldn't care whether I breathed or not. So that just negated the whole deal. And I said, why don't you call it something, what about My Girl? No, I don't know about that because the Temptations had a song, My Girl. And what about My Gal? I said, it's the same thing as girl. It's cute, catchy. And he said, nah, I don't know. Well, why don't you name it Als Gal? That's cool. I like that. And that's where it came from. And the name stuck. And of course, when he went to Oregon Inlet with it as a private boat, he was at the fishing center as a private boat up until the summer of '72. and everyone got to know him, and they called everybody like the kids your age that I taught and a little older started calling everybody, all the guys, by their mother's name. And so down there, they called everybody by their boat name when they came in. And so anyway, he managed to ease into the fishing fleet as a private boat because he was there every summer. And he fished every minute he could get down there. And the transition of that boat, put night riggers on it, whole nother story. First night riggers were bamboo wrapped in vinyl tape, and which you can see in that picture right there. So that's where the name came from. And when it transitioned, when he got the other boat, she was originally Vivienne, VIVI-ENNE, and it was documented, so you couldn't just go slap a name on it. So we were eating lunch at Comstock's Confectionery one day, and we were discussing what name. Well, let's name it Getting Tired. I said, are you still on that Getting Tired? Alan, you cannot take a charter boat and call it Getting Tired. I said, we're going to have to hook something together here. You know, they know you as Als Gal down there. And I suggested GaloMine, that GaloMine. And he said, all right. I said, anything but Getting Tired, you know. And so that's where the names came from. And it stuck. And of course the GaloMine stuck as long as he had the boat. And it evidently has stuck right on following the boat, because that's what happens if you get a name in there. Your clientele get used to the name, and that's what they zero in on. So that's where the names came from. Recognize that fellow, don't you?
Yep. Yeah, that one was hanging in the cottage too.
I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it at all.
And as serious as a heart attack.
That's right. Still is. Still is. I love it. This is what I would call a very hairy moment. The only two things holding that boat up is that brace right there, I think. And there's one right in front of him.
Mm-hmm.
There are no other blocks on it. That might be a little bit right there. And I think what they're trying to do,
get the trailer under?
Yeah, they're getting a trailer under it. And that was there they are with the braces. And I think that's him under there adjusting their all hydraulic. It was a neat operation. I did not want to miss that at all. You stop me and tell me to back up if you want me to back up.
So it looks like on the bow you had a stainless rub rail too.
Yeah, I would think so. The biggest battles we ever had were galvanized or brass, and I was always brass. I did not want anything rusting at all. When we did the first GaloMine, I said it looks horrible. It will bleed through. I said brass or stainless, and it was like pulling teeth. I know he thought I was trying to clean him out or clean his bank account out, and I knew it wasn't endless. I said, you want it to be done right. Yeah, but I got to pay for it. I said, well, yeah. So that was one of the neatest things about when he built this boat.
Yeah, I'm talking about the.
Yeah.
Because that's not on there now.
What do they have? Nothing, or?
Yeah, just fiberglass.
Well, that's interesting. I don't know how they're building them or how they're doing it now, but I would guess they wouldn't want Jenny cracking a bottle of champagne on the stem then. But normally we would run that down to right about here, and it was just more. I think it was if you're going to hit something hard, you're going to really crash into one of. They used to put, I think they still do, collision bulkheads in there, and you would crash into those. But I think for just a little bump and run, you're okay on that. And of course, they had one, here on
So that's
this
what it's
rubber
for,
rail
just
here.
pulling up to a dock or something.
Yeah. Now this
Yeah.
is if you had a collision with something else. I mean, the way they were being designed, I can understand them not doing it anymore. When Hatteras came out, they were the ones that really made inroads in fiberglass sport fishing boats. Bertram too, but they did not have the rails on them, and because you were using juniper, maybe heart pine. I don't know what they would use. I was under the impression that almost all of it was juniper because of the weight and the fact that it was so resistant to rot. You would just trim it out, and it would either be trimmed in brass or stainless if you could afford it. That was a little more than brass, because now I think it's about neck and neck is how expensive it is. But if you were to bump into something, a marker, an aid, something in the water, not necessarily a collision with another vessel, but if you were to bump into a skiff or something like that, it would offer you a little bit of protection. And it would go on back and taper down the side, but almost every boat, there you are right there.
Yep.
And it was in case, and I've gotten so old and fat, I walk like that, I'll bump or nudge off of a wall if I'm in a small confined space, and that's basically to help you ease off of a piling or a dolphin or something like that. And without, if you have the curvature of the hull, the tumble home, that's the furthest projection, and that's what it's designed for if you were to go into a piling or something.
That might be the last one, I think. Yep.
That's a cop Brian there, and I couldn't do much of that because I was looking almost in the sun. So that's Jenny that climbed up on there. So that's what I was saying. If you were to drop plumb bob right off of here and measure this distance, you're going to have that's at least a 4-foot rake. That's what gave her such beautiful lines. Was that? It's just an absolutely beautiful, and that little touch. That's powder blue. Is his favorite color. The deck was all powder blue. Interlux International. Thank you. I mean, that rig is ready to go.
Yeah.
Ready to go. But your spray rail down here, I don't think I've ever seen a guard iron. We call it guard iron, rub rail or whatever down here, because that's just basically to keep the spray away from the bag. But up here is a different story. You'd have it here and have it here, and of course all the way around the edge. Fat man, they wasn't so fat. That's the end.
Yeah.
Of that particular group. Like I said, what I was trying to do was get every picture that I had focused on that. I even entitled it GOM 53. I'm gonna have to modify it to 51 or whatever you tell me you come up with. But they were the pictures.
Did you have any other ones? Or?
I don't think of that boat. That is the summer she was launched. I do know that. I've been able to track back in some of the pictures that I've looked through. I find that in an album that other pictures, same scene, same weather conditions, same age, or for lack of a better term, stage of deterioration or discoloration as June, I think it was, late May or June of 75. So that was her first year. Now, the first, no, that's a different
Yeah, because it says Nag's Head. It used to say Oregon Inlet.
Yeah. Yeah. I think Elizabeth City on that one for a while. I'd have to look that back up and see. But no, you go ahead and look at the ones you want to look at a little more closely.
No, we just went through them all actually.
What?
We just got to the last one within this folder.
Mm-hmm. What would you like to drink?
Sweet tea would be great.
Okay. All right. Lunch is ready.
All right. Let's see. Yeah, it was Elizabeth City. That's the very first season in '72. But if you don't want to look at those or these, you know, that's I can certainly understand it because I know you folks sitting on the other boat. But I have put in a few of these other pictures from the other group showing different things. There she is. That's her demise right there. She's laying on. That's Alan.
Yeah.
Laying on the starboard side, and they tried to drag it out, and that's when they pulled it apart. That was his first monument, but it was out of, that was in '73, and that was out of Hatteras, June 1, '73. And I didn't know he had gone to Hatteras to fish out of there. And there's her engine. That's the old one. Let's see if there's anything else in here. There's that picture of Judy that was taken in that same series of photographs. That's the cabin, front of the cabin, and that's the doorway down there. She just moved a little bit to one side. These are the pictures. I thought I'd put those in that other folder. I might not have. That's a picture of her in Elizabeth City. I don't know who took the picture. I don't know whose gas boat this is, because when he had this built, he had already gotten rid of, it's not the Redhead. I don't know whose boat it is. So that's got me really confused. But this is the Point Winslow acres is over on this side, and if you go right around this point, if you head right out there at about 135 degrees, you run into Roanoke Island, and the Coast Guard base is back up here on this side. And again, I don't know who's on it. That picture, I've got two sides because I can't determine which is correct.
Maybe the lettering.
Yeah, I can't read it. It's that has solved it a little bit. It's just,
That's the right side there.
I think that is correct.
That's the starboard.
But I'm trying to figure out. I think this is where Blair and George live now, over here in this section on Riverside. But I'm not 100% positive. I'm going by the shoreline. But it's definitely up here in Elizabeth City, and he's still got the tower. Like you said, I was unaware, when it came off or when they modified it. Well, if that's correct, get rid of the other one. I don't know who that girl is. She just happened to be on there. No, I don't have to worry about that one. I got it straight. And that was on the cruises of Reunion.
Mm-hmm.
That was the last time. That's one of the first times we were on the way on a decent boat, on a old gas boat, and I was going to hang it over there, going through the bridge. But these are the pictures I was going to incorporate with the biography I'm writing. That's the shape that the first GaloMine was in. We had to change the shaft size, had to replace, I think it was at least one or two planks in the stern. That was at the shipyard. And so you had this full keel, and we put a shaft bearing back here, and everything was fine. Got her overboard, the engine got running, had a vibration that would knock your teeth out. So what happened was we had to go back, cut the keel out. We did, the shipyard did, and come back down here with an iron shoe because all the blocking in the back was not made. It had a shoe to support the rudder, and so that had to be. All this had to be redone, separate strut. Then on top of that, well, originally a separate strut to support a new shoe. There was 40 pounds, 50 pounds of steel back here. We had a V strut and then a Y strut that held the bottom of the shoe that they later put on. But they cut all this away so the water would flow around, and made it a lot smoother. Not necessarily any faster, but she ran a lot more smoothly. But first, this is being done as you read down there. We had to go ahead an 1.25 inch shaft, and they said, you ain't putting a diesel in there with an 1.25 inch shaft. You just ran for trouble. So we said, how big? With 2 inches? No, you ain't got enough room for 2. You go 1.75 inch stainless, and said that'll handle you. So that's what we wound up having to get the shipyard to do. They had to rebore a shaft alley and all that other stuff. God, it's a long time ago. There he is below, stripping paint. OSHA would die. No,